Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3:00 p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep.
What company do you keep? Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Thank you for tuning in. For all of our social media followers, we ask you to please go to Sisters in Company on listenvisionlive.com. And for today's topics, we ask you to participate by calling in at 833-202-8255. And so just thank you. We are here today, and as you can see, we have a guest co-host, Walida. Most of you should already know Walida Hawkins. Sherelle is away because her boy, as she calls him, has a soccer game today, and so that's why she's not here. So thank you, Walida, for always being willing to fill in the gap. So we're going to have a great conversation today, and hopefully everyone will be able to call in, participate, or post on our social media site. And so first of all, before we get started, I would just like to thank everyone for your condolences, your messages at the death of my love bug, my granddaddy, who was 98 years old. He was everything to me, and I'm going to miss him, but he is resting peacefully, and I just feel blessed to have had such an awesome man in my life. So thank you all for your messages of love and concern. And so here we are, back and ready to rock and roll with the show. And so today's scripture is, we have two actually, and I'm not going to read the entire scripture because the themes from these scriptures really goes along with some of the things we're going to talk about today. Yes. Matthew 28 and 29 through 30, which is the Great Commission. But I just want to read this one section. Go ye therefore to teach. Let me read that again. Go ye therefore to teach. And then Romans 12 and 2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so one of the things some of the topics we're going to talk about today before we get into the discussion is going to be around Black History Month and HBCUs. We're going to talk about B. Smith. That's going to be an interesting conversation. Yes. Steve and Monique's conversation. And we're going to ask this question that I'm going to hold on to because I want to have some authentic conversation about this question that we're going to hold on to. So I'm going to hold on to the question because I wanted to make sure the conversation is authentic. And so before we get started, as you all very well know, I give an annual women's conference called Women Thou Art Great, Women Sharpening Women Conference. Awesome. This year's theme is Unapologetically Great. And so we only have 34 days, actually, 34 days prior to the conference. And so get your tickets. Yes. If you haven't, go on to Eventbrite and purchase your ticket. And fellas, you can purchase tickets as well for the special women in your life as a gift to them, because it is a transformative conference. And we have real talk. We do some real work around who we are as women. So it is going to be held on March the 23rd. From 8 to 4 or 8 to 5 roughly at the Colony South Hotel in Clinton, Maryland. And we are really, really excited. So get your tickets. And just so that you will know, who are some of the conference speakers and participants. Of course, we know we have my wonderful co-host who is my sister, Sherelle. She is going to be the MC and she's going to speak this year. So I'm going to be so excited. I'm excited about that, to hear what she has to say. We have the lovely Candace Camille, who is the wellologist, and she's been on the show with us before. And if you don't know who she is, just look up the Plank Lady. And of course, we have Miss Bobby Swan, who is the matriarch. And you talking about real talk.
Real talk.
Yeah, she about 5 feet. Is she about 5 feet tall and wears stilettos and about 73 years old? She bad to the bone. And then we're going to have, of course, Pastor Margot Gross, who just brings the word, and I don't really have to say much about Pago. The oil, Pastor Margot, the oil. And then Sylvia Austin. She's Cousin Seal, a Morgan State graduate, and she's on the Karen Hunter show. Awesome sister. And then we're going to have our two millennials, Alyssa Cradle, who is my stepdaughter, and her good friend, Nakia Jack, going to come and talk with us. And of course, we're going to have our fitness enthusiast, and that is Mary Honeylamb Bowman, who is my soror. So get your tickets. Don't hesitate. There are 34 days left, and we're looking forward to seeing everyone. And thank you to all the ladies who have already purchased their tickets. Thank you for your continued support. So, also, Valentine's Day. I hope everyone had a wonderful Valentine's Day, that you did something for yourself, you relaxed, you loved on yourself or your significant other, or you spent time with your family. And we know it's just a made-up holiday, right?
Every day
so
is
every day
Valentine's
is Valentine's Day, and we can show each other some love every day. So I'm hoping that everything went well. And the other thing that I'm so happy about is that we're not dealing with a furlough. Because I know Walita works for the federal government, Sherelle works for the federal government, and so many of the folks that I know work for the federal government, and you all are not being affected by that. And I bless God for that, to be very honest with you, that you're not having to experience that. And that's another reason, as I said previously, and with my live that I did yesterday, I kind of held up on really promoting the conference, because so many of the women who attend my conference work for the federal government, and so I just wanted to be sensitive around what they were going through. And so now that it's over, I'm going to promote. And so hopefully everybody will be able to attend. So thank you, Walita. Tell our audience a little bit more about you, because some people may have missed you being on the show.
Okay. Well, I'm Walita Hawkins, Dr. We2B, and I am the owner and CEO of The Wonders of Change, and we are an organizational management company that specializes in transitioning your vision into reality. And so, as Sharon said, I work for the federal government 31 years in August. Almost time to retire. I am a wife of Chris Hawkins, and I have 3 beautiful children, Byron, Bryce, and Kristen. And I am a woman of God, most importantly. And thank you for having me on the show and trusting me to fill in for Sherelle. Of course, those are some tough shoes to walk in, but I'm going to do my best on today. And I'm also the founder of Books and Bites Extravaganza, where we invite authors whose book impact change in people's lives to come out and share their books with the audience, and with hopes that it will make a change and impact their life. So thank you for having me.
So wonderful. So you ready to get started?
I'm ready to get started.
So this is where the audience can participate. We know that this is Black History Month, and so I want to get the audience participation, and particularly those of you that are on social media. What I would like you to do is, answer these 3 questions. What was the first HBCU to award degrees? Let me read that to you again. What was the first HBCU to award degrees? So what is an HBCU? Historically Black College and University. So what was the first? I can feel
everybody Googling.
Yes. I don't want you to Google. I want you to
guess.
guess.
Take a stab at it. I will say it was not Florida A&M University.
And it was not Virginia State University. But let me just tell you, It was Lincoln University,
Yes.
which was founded in 1854. And Lincoln University is located in Oxford, Pennsylvania. Did you all know that? Did you all know that Lincoln University was the first
I didn't.
HBCU to award degrees? Okay, so this is a different question. Which HBCU is recognized as the oldest in the United States? Which HBCU is recognized as the oldest in the United States?
Come on, y'all.
Think about it.
All you HBCU grads, come on.
Come on, HBCU grads. Somebody said, did not know that. Yeah, I have on here. Deirdre said Lincoln. So let me read it one more time. Which HBCU is recognized as the oldest in the United States? Da, da, da. Well, since you don't know, I'm going to tell you.
FAMU.
It was Cheney
Yep.
University. And it was founded by Richard Humphreys, who was a Quaker. Go ahead, Deirdre. You know your history. In 1837, which is located in Cheney, Pennsylvania.
Right outside of Philly.
Exactly. Marvin said Lincoln. So Marvin, I guess you're answering Lincoln for the first question. And the third question. Which HBCU was first to be owned and operated by African Americans?
I learned something today.
Yeah, I learned something today. Which HBCU was first to be owned and operated by African Americans? I wish I had some music.
Well, I can improvise. I'm so glad.
So let's see.
I'm from FAMU.
I see people typing. Which one? I'm not going to give you all an opportunity to Google. It was Wilberforce University, founded by the Methodist Episcopal Church in Wilberforce, Ohio.
Yeah.
So when we talk about, and Deirdre said Wilberforce.
Deirdre, you asking Siri.
And so as we, continue to celebrate, and Marvin said it's in Pennsylvania also. That is Cheney and Lincoln. You're right. Are in Pennsylvania. Exactly, Marvin.
And
That's
Ohio
my brother-in-law.
is right next door.
And exactly, and Ohio is right next door.
But the fourth question: what's the best HBCU?
Oh goodness.
FAMU.
Oh no. Look, how's she gonna come on our show and say that FAMU is the best when Virginia State University rocks the house?
And we're sitting right across the street from
Howard University. That's okay. That's across the street, but we are in control of this show. So Virginia State University,
FAMU,
Trojans,
I'm the co-host
right?
today. FAMU Rattlers, okay?
Yes. And so Kitty said VSU.
Come on, Kitty. Whatever, Kitty.
Like, duh. And so we wanted to bring, talk about HBCUs because they are significant in the lives of so many people. And somebody said Howard. I'm like, oh, I don't think so.
Where's that located?
I know. But we wanted to talk about HBCUs because they are doing the thing,
yes,
right?
they are.
We know that some HBCUs have struggled, but that's just the nature of the beast, and it doesn't have to be. And so for Black History Month, we want to really, really get people to support an HBCU.
That's right.
Even if you did not attend one.
That's right.
Because it was so significant in my development, in
And mine
your
too,
development,
yes.
and in the development of so many people, family and friends in my life, that we need to support our HBCUs
Exactly.
so that we can stop hearing the stories about them not having enough money.
Right.
Right.
And you remember just recently how Bennett raised
Right.
all that money,
Yes.
so that they could retain their
Accreditation.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when
and
you
so
think
many others HBCU supported their cause.
that
And
is
I thought
right.
That was awesome.
And that's exactly right because we're all important to each other. What happened to St. Paul's and some
Yeah.
other colleges should not happen.
That's
And so I just challenge us to make sure that we are supporting these schools, these colleges and universities. And also, we know that we have a lot of athletes now who are starting to choose to go to an HBCU, so that these HBCUs can get that recognition and they can contribute and put these schools on the map.
Yeah.
And so, but we have to do our part.
And if you're an alumni of the HBCU, give back.
Give back.
Because what we got from our HBCUs, that's the least we can do is participate as an alumni and support our HBCUs.
Right. And if you still mad and you graduated in the 80s from your HBCU because they made you stand in a long line to register. Only thing I'm going to say, mind your mind. Mind your mind. And that's what the scripture says today. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yes.
And when I think about the 3 universities that we discussed here this morning in our Black History Fact, without those schools, where would some of us be? Where would our family members be?
Yeah.
And so do your part, and if you're not pleased with what's happening at that particular school,
make a difference.
Go and be a part of it. Go ask how you can help versus complaining, because that's what I want to talk about. I am just disturbed in my spirit about where we are as a people to quickly just jump out there and be so negative. Right? We want to hang people. We want to kill them. We want blood when we don't really have all the facts about what's happening with people. And so I challenge all of us to renew our mind, change our mindset, do some research, and put yourself in that person's shoes. What if it was you? Exactly. How would you want people to respond to you? Wouldn't you want people to give you the benefit of the doubt?
Yeah.
But some of us got to check our character, right? We got to check our character, because if I do something, which I've done some stuff, right?
Okay.
If I do something,
haven't we all?
Yeah, I want my friends, my family to know me well enough to say, no,
that don't sound.
She didn't
like
do
her.
that.
Right.
But if you say I did something else, we can see her doing that, right? So we have to check our character, but it's about renewing our mindset. And we had a wonderful conversation last night with some ladies about changing our behavior.
Yes.
So once you change your mindset, it has to align with your behavior, right? Yep. And we can no longer say, well, we don't know what to do. There's a lot out here that we can do.
That's right.
To change our mindsets, to change our behaviors, and we have to be intentional. We have to really be intentional. And you have to want to change.
You have to want to change, because in the conversation last night, like we heard, it was people who didn't think that there was a need for them to change.
They want everybody else to change.
Right.
That's the thing about change.
I don't have a problem,
Yeah, but that's the thing about change. Change is cool until we're being asked as individuals to make the change.
Exactly.
But everybody else needs to change. And why are we talking about this? We're talking about this because I really want to talk about the conversation that Steve and Monique had on the Steve Harvey Show. And if you all have not heard it or listened to it, please listen to it from the beginning to the end, because it is very important. And so why do I want to talk about it? One of the concerns that I have is that we are airing our business publicly. Why? Why was Steve and Monique's conversation necessary to go viral?
And only bits and pieces of it.
Exactly. And that's what ends up happening. And so, like we were just saying, we get inundated with a whole lot of information. And so we get bits and pieces of the information, and then we start making judgments about the little bit of information that we have. And one of the things I'm very clear about, I believe this. We don't know what we will do until we walk in someone else's shoes.
That's right.
We can say that we won't do this and we won't do that, and 9 times out of 10 we probably won't. But it all depends. It all depends on who you are, what your life experiences have been, and that's what I think. I believe, people are coming down on Monique, and I'm disturbed by that. Right now, do I agree with her behavior? No. But one of the things I do understand is that hurt people hurt people. Yeah. And if you've been hurt before, if you've been in an argument and somebody says something to you to hurt you, you have lashed back out. Raise your hand if that's not you.
You said if that's not you.
Exactly. But ours is not done in the public forum, right? And so I think, and this is where my skill set comes in. We look at behavior and we don't label it appropriately.
Right.
We make judgments about it, right? And sometimes we, as the listener, we have to listen underneath the action.
Right.
To make sure that we're hearing what people are saying.
Right.
Whether you agree or not, hear
right.
what they're saying. And it's not your deal, right?
Right.
And
So
somebody said for ratings. Right,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fritz, for ratings. And I don't know if that's true, but it was to me. And I've actually listened to her along the way. And when you know people's stories, and just because they get to be a certain age don't mean that they're just going to get over it.
Right.
It takes work to get over abuse. It takes work to get over people constantly putting you down, right? And making you feel some kind of way. And so I would say just learn to listen to people. And what do you have to say about it?
She's one thing she said to Steve, she's talked about integrity.
Yes.
And so when you look at some of the things that she did with Tyler, some of the people that she threw up under the bus, Oprah, that's integrity too.
It is integrity.
So when you say, okay, well, no, Steve, it's about integrity. Then we have to, like you said, check your character,
right?
Check your integrity.
Check yours,
and
exactly.
So I think that's where do I agree with everything Steve said? No, but we have to come to the table. Not just blaming the other person, but we have to own up to what we've done as well.
Exactly. And
because she burnt, from my perspective, she burnt a lot of bridges. So what are you going to do and how can you mend those bridges? And so that was one of the pain points for me when I heard the entire interview from the beginning to the end. He apologized at the end, and I don't know how many people know that because they don't show that clip on TV. They just show that one little piece with what he was talking about money, which was a pain point for a lot of people. But at the end when he said, you know what, I'm sorry. And I'm going to reach out to the people to see what we can do about that. Now, should he have started the conversation that way? Yes, I think so. But did it even have to get to this point?
Right.
So I understood what she was saying, and I understood her pain. But is it that little girl that experienced that pain needed to be healed? Yes,
and she needed to be
and
healed.
So now it's just lashing out,
right?
And so, it was deep.
Yeah, it was deep, and it's so important. And so hurt people. We make judgments and, based on people's behavior, and we don't have the patience or the tolerance or the compassion.
That's his key word, compassion.
Compassion. Yeah. And we're always in a mindset where we want to say, well, this person's going to go to hell, or this person is that. I'm thinking to myself, well,
are you going? No.
What are some of the stuff that we've done? Right. And we want God to forgive us.
That's right.
We want people to forgive us. But we're not willing to forgive people.
Right.
And I believe that you can forgive people and move on.
Yeah.
I think you can love people from a distance. Yeah. I just do. But when you hurt, you want people to feel the kind of hurt that you have. And so, for her to do what she did and do it publicly, and some of it was around her comedy. And that's a whole nother conversation. And some people would say, well, she, they kingmakers, Tyler Perry and Oprah and all them. And so she just really sunk herself. Right. But until you walk into somebody else's shoes, no, I didn't agree with her behavior, but I understand, because how many of us will sell our souls and for money? How many? Let's have a moment of silence on that.
Because Sophon says oftentimes we don't learn to be compassionate until we are first in need of it.
Exactly. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. We don't know how to be. I love that, Sophon. Thank you for that. Until we're in the need of it. Yep. Right. And so,
and the same thing with forgiveness.
Yes.
The same, until we need somebody to forgive us, then that's when we understand the need for forgiveness and what forgiveness really is and what it entails.
And so, only thing I ask is, no matter what's going on in other people's lives, that we try to show some compassion,
right.
and we can correct.
Yeah.
All of us need
In
a little
love.
bit of correction, but it needs to be in love.
Right.
Right.
Where would we be without correction?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And I would have loved to have had a conversation with Monique, right? Because you can tell, and then people want to say the angry black woman. I don't even want to get into that.
Yeah, right.
But she was hurt.
Yeah.
She's African American. So what?
And I just think everybody needs to come to the table. Like Steve Harvey said at the end, everybody needs to come to the table and have an adult conversation.
Adult conversation about it.
I didn't hear what Tyler Perry said to her, but from what I heard someone say, that he said, okay, well, let me call bookkeeping to see what you didn't get paid. So basically he was saying, you got paid the contract that you signed, you got paid.
Right, exactly.
And was that a little insensitive? Maybe, but from a business standpoint, listen, you signed a contract, we paid you.
Right.
Business is business,
Right.
So you can look at it from that standpoint too, as a business person, because if I sign a contract with you, then you need to give me what's on my contract.
Right.
And
exactly.
then if I feel that I need more or I deserve more, then we need to go back to the table and renegotiate. And do we know if the renegotiation took place, or is it that she just began to lash out?
And I think because some people have a need to be right. How many of us just have a need to be right? And so we're so right that we want to go public, right? And not understanding how it's perceived, the backlash that you might get. Some people are like, you signed that contract for $50,000 to do Precious made X amount of millions. You signed the contract. They wanted you to go and promote, the movie and travel at your expense. Right. And she was like,
that's where you have a conversation.
Right.
That's when you open up the negotiations. Because, okay, well, listen, sis. Okay, you want me to go and promote. Okay, well, what? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about what this looks like. How much my plane fare is going to cost. What is my gas going to cost? That's where you negotiate. You don't lash out. But do we know whether or not she negotiated? See, we don't know. And then that's what you were speaking to in the beginning about passing judgment without knowing the full story. Because even watching the conversation between she and Steve Harvey, we still don't know the in-between or the fullness of what really took place. And that's where we have to be careful about being so judgmental.
Exactly. And not be so judgmental. Now, can we, give some constructive criticism? Absolutely. Yeah, we can. We have to give some constructive criticism. And somebody said, yeah, we can forgive, but believe that hell and sin is real. And I still believe what we discussed. And so we're going to shift into what that particular person on social media is talking about. And my thing is, if that's how we feel about everything that everybody does, then the same is true for us.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
We can't pick and choose.
That's right.
You can't pick and choose your sin.
That's right.
And everybody sins.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody. And so do we want to say that something I did before or something I'm doing now that I'm going to go to hell for it?
Right. Lord, I hope not, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
And so somebody said, sometimes it's not the right time to be right.
That's exactly right. Somebody has to yield.
Right.
Somebody has to be mature. Somebody has to yield. You have to, and that's why we talk about your circle. If you listen to our song for the show, we talk about who's in your circle. Who's in your circle who can have a conversation with you to at least get you to hear a different perspective.
Right.
And if you don't have someone that can get you to, and you may not agree, but at least somebody in your circle that you can listen, right? But you cannot go to the conversation saying, I just have to be right. I just have to be right. And that's the only way that it's going to be.
My way or no way.
My way or no way. And so, right. And sometimes it's not the right time to be right.
That's right. That's right.
To get what you need. But that's maturity. That's that whole emotional intelligence that I just really really love to talk about. It's that level of emotional intelligence and looking at the greater good. You know, what is the outcome? What are we going for? You know, and so yes, that conversation. So hopefully you all will go back and listen to it, and we'll just go from there. You know, you still have your own opinion, but listen to it with an open mind. You know, and listen beneath the behavior. To the words, to the conversation, to the thoughts. You hear the pain. Exactly.
And even in a lot of Steve's comments and what he was saying, you can hear some of his pain too.
Exactly. You can hear the pain.
I mean, because a lot of people are looking at it from the viewpoint, what he said about money and this, that, and the third, but where is that coming from? You know, and so you have to kind of listen to it.
Let me tell you what's so interesting about that. For you all, you know, we don't want to spoil it, but what happened in one piece of it was Monique was talking about ethical behavior, and you brought that up. And, you know, we're not so sure if what she did was ethical either, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And so he was talking about how, you know, forget ethics.
Right.
He has a family to take care of. And so forget ethical behavior and acting ethically. And because he has to get his money to take care, in other words, that's what he said, you know, to take care of his family. And I think a lot of people, it just raised some eyebrows when he said that. But let me just tell you something. What I teach a master's level ethics class, right? And I posed to my class a question, and I had everybody around the class to go around and answer the question based from an ethical standpoint. Just about everybody's opinion in the room was different. So, what's ethics? Right? That's doing what's right or wrong, right? What's
right
ethics?
or wrong? And then
what is that to you?
Viewpoint, right?
Exactly.
Everybody's viewpoint of what's right is wrong is different. You know, so
exactly. And so everybody's viewpoint is different, but we have to come together and meet in the middle on some stuff. It's just some stuff that's just not cool.
Right.
Some stuff that's just wrong. And then there's a difference between ethics and the law.
Yeah.
And the law.
Oh, well, yeah.
Right? But it's a close line. You know, you start engaging in unethical practices can lead a whole lot of people to cross that line to do some illegal stuff.
That's right.
Right? And so when he said that, it made my eyebrows raise, but I haven't had a conversation with him.
Right.
That was a sound bite.
Right.
Because sometimes people say stuff, and I'm not so sure if they really understand what they're saying.
Right.
You know, because what does that look like that you are willing to compromise your integrity
for the money?
For the money, your ethical behavior for the money. Yeah. I don't know, but that's pretty deep.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and so that is just a conversation that concerned me, and people, you know, it concerns me, but some of the stuff I've done in the past would concern somebody, right? And so the only thing I'm saying is we need to come together and just listen to people. You don't have to agree.
Right.
And if you don't agree, you know, we don't need to air our public
right.
You know, our business out in public like that. Right. And so I just thought that was an interesting conversation. I'm not sure of all the details. And so, you know, and I'm not in that situation.
Right.
And I know when I was hurt before, I've done some stuff that's just, you know, I don't want nobody to know. Right. You know, we all have. And so what are you going to do? Condemn me for life?
Right.
And say that, you know, and we're so used to looking at the negative pieces of people that we forget about all the good.
Right.
And the good should outweigh the bad.
It should.
It should. That's just how I choose to look at it, because all of us got some stuff.
That's right.
Right. And so that's just how I look at it. So let's continue this conversation around ethics then. And we're talking about B. Smith and her husband, right? Ooh. We all know that B. Smith has Alzheimer's, and you know, and for some reason, her husband recently came out and was saying that I guess a lady that used to work with them who now is helping to take care of B, he moved her into the house with them. His lover. He's still married to B. Smith. B. Smith has Alzheimer's, and according to what we know, because we don't know, she doesn't know who he is. Okay.
Ooh, that's a touchy
You want to start? You want to start there?
No, yeah, let's start there.
Yes, and so there's a lot of conversation about, again, calling him out his name,
right,
and all this stuff going on. My perspective is the woman shouldn't be in the house.
No.
That's just the bottom line. I cannot condone that. I can't even understand it. Yeah. But again, I'm not in their shoes.
And we don't know what the arrangements were. I just can't. I can't wrap my head around it. I can't even speak to it. Right. I mean, you talking about unethical. That's just.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Not moral.
Mm-hmm. And moral, exactly. Moral, right? I don't get it. But again, when you see the daughter come to her father's defense.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, and she's perfectly okay with it because I think she's seen
daughter?
His daughter.
Well,
because I don't think she has children.
Right. Okay.
So his daughter.
Right.
So she's looking at what it's doing to her father, and the reason I said that is because. The question that I said that I posed in class, in my ethics class, was about this whole situation with B. Smith. Mm-hmm. And I went around and I asked every student in the class. These are working adults, veterans, all kind of things. And I'm going to tell you, there were 3 people. Some people came from it from the perspective of he is violating his vows, period. Some people came from the perspective that, no, he is not violating his vows because he is taking care of his wife in sickness and health.
Well,
and then there were some that said, let me tell you about my story, our personal stories with our parents, right? And there were 3 people in the class that talked about their parents. And one person went as far as to say the siblings came together when our mother had Alzheimer's, and we saw what it was doing to our father. It was sucking the life out of him. Wow. And he was going to end up dying before mom died because of what he was dealing with. And so they came together and said, look, Dad, you need to go out and get a life. And when the father said, well, what does that mean? Well, get a life. Right. They was like, go out on a date.
Right.
Do something because we know you loved mom. Or we know you loved it because there were some people that it was the opposite. Right. We know that you love it. We see how you're taking care of those people. And so it was profound.
Right. And
it was profound.
Here. We have someone here. My perspective is we don't know what was discussed prior to B. Smith's illness.
Right.
And she said, move whomever in, please just continue to take good care of me.
And she could have. I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? But, I don't know.
And some people are saying it's adulterous. Some people saying it's disrespectful.
But I think taken care of. I mean, because when you look at the picture that they're showing, it's the 3 of them, and B is just sitting there. She doesn't look. I just don't know.
No. But let me tell you something. I don't know because one of the things we do know is that they wrote a book. Right? Before she really was diagnosed with full-blown Alzheimer's.
Right.
And you don't know the agreement.
Right.
And you don't know the agreement that they had. Right? And so that's why I'm saying we can't be so judgmental because you don't know. You don't. And
move me out of the house. You know what I mean? Move me into a different facility or something. But just in my house.
And so, is that what you want? Because if that's what you want, you need to put it in writing. Because when you leave it to the other person to make some decisions, they're going to make some decisions about their life as well.
That's
because
true.
We know that caretakers. Yeah. Some of them are taken out before the person they're taking care of.
Yeah.
Right?
You're
and so the only thing I'm saying is I don't even know why I had to be public. Again. why?
But I think somebody else posted it, and then
so he's responding.
So he had to address it.
Yeah, and I'm like, why is it even public?
Because people are messy.
Yeah, and so what I'm gonna say is, you all want us to come to your door and look in your house and see what you got going on? Well, and make it public and have people making decisions and about what you have going on and making judgments, right? And so only thing I'm saying is, I don't know why everything has to be public. I don't know what the two of them decided.
Right.
Because
she discussed her illness before it became, she announced it.
Yes.
And, she announced when she was leaving her restaurant. And so, I believe that she had given a lot of thought to what Alzheimer's was going to look like at a certain stage.
Maybe.
Because she was, because she discussed it. She talked about it, being diagnosed with it. And during her conversations during that time, she was really aware of, what this is going to end up looking like if you go back to some of her prior interviews when she first got diagnosed.
But look, and this is the deal. We all knew, loved, and respected her, know her. But who was thinking about B. Smith? I mean, seriously, we knew that she had Alzheimer's and that
and the restaurant was closed.
And so just like with many other people who get sick, the family was now taking care of her. But nobody had to know all of this stuff. And so
social media,
television, and again, I think what it did though is opened up a greater conversation. Right? And most people are talking about him, but not talking about her. And what her needs were, and maybe what they agreed to. I don't know. But the bottom line is, it opened a greater conversation about what is it that you want, if it's sickness and in health, what do you want? And write it down. We know that she probably maybe didn't want to go to a facility. I don't know. And we know that when we put our parents or loved ones in facilities, whatever their assets are, that's taken away. So was that a consideration? You follow what I'm saying? I don't know. And so, no, that's not what I would want for me, but we need to make it known what we know, what we want.
That's right.
And it's between the husband and the wife. That's right. At the end of the day. Okay, and so no, I'm not going to call that man out of his name because I don't know him. I haven't talked to him. I only have heard what I've heard, but I haven't talked to him. I don't know what they have in writing. I don't know what they agreed to, and so, but he also needs to kind of take a look at his behavior, right? In terms of how he's showing up around this discussion. How is he showing up around this discussion? And again, is there a need for him to be right?
Well, and then they're getting ready to do some type of reality show or something. I read somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And so, one of the things that when you're married for a long time, even if you're not married, you have a significant other. Put it in writing. Making sure that person knows. No, don't just tell them. Right. Put it in writing. Because, our memory come and goes, right? Our memory come and goes. My husband already told us the song he wants us to play at his funeral, right?
Right.
If he precedes us in death. We put it in writing.
Because
I might get up there and I may, want something else. But it's about the wishes of the person that's there. Yeah. Somebody said, stay out of my house and I'll stay out of yours.
Right, but then don't make it public.
Don't make it public.
And then you have to look at, I think B. Smith's husband needs to look at who made it public, and what was their motive. You know what I mean? So that goes back to who's in your circle.
Who would put you out on blast like that.
Would put you out on blast like that when you are clearly taking care of your wife. You know what I mean? And you don't know what type of arrangements they had. I don't know. I don't know.
Can I say this? And you all can say what you want. Life is for the living.
Okay.
And what do I mean by that?
Yeah. Life is for the living. It is what it is. Live and let live.
So, we're going to move on. since life is for the living.
Yes.
Because this is another conversation. I heard this question being posed, and it was profound to me. Yeah. It was just profound because it made me sit back and think, right? Mm-hmm. And the question was, are black women raised to be single?
Wow.
I don't think I've ever heard such a question. So, are black women raised to be single? And so I posed this to every group of that I've been in with women. I'm posing this question because I'm like, what does that mean?
Right.
You know, why would that question even be posed? And so you want to share some of your thoughts around that?
You know, my thought around were black women raised to be single. I was raised by my grandparents who were married, and then I went on to live with my mother, who was a single mother. And I watched the struggle, you know, and I watched the independence. And so I was raised to be independent. Would I say I was raised to be single? Mm-hmm. I was raised to be an independent woman. Mm-hmm. And so most single women are independent, mm-hmm. you know. And so that question made me think, wow, was I really made to be single? Because when I first got married, I struggled, you know, probably still do, but I struggled with, you know, my independence. You know, mm-hmm. I got to do what? Mm-hmm. This is a joint decision? No, this is how I do it. You know what I mean? And so I had to adjust, you know, and so that question made me think about how I was raised. Mm-hmm. And you know, and what examples did you have? So I had married couples in my life, you mm-hmm. know, but I also had a single woman who survived, who taught me how to survive, who taught me how to live, who taught me how to be great. Mm-hmm. You know, single. Mm-hmm. You know, and you know, someone says here to a certain degree, unconsciously so. Right. You know, so mm-hmm. did she consciously say, okay, I'm going to raise my only daughter to be single and to know how to take care of herself if a man doesn't take care of her or mm-hmm. is willing to take care of her? I don't think that was her intention. Right. You know what mm-hmm. I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's a question to make you go, and especially being a mother of a teenage daughter, you know, I need to check myself and to make sure that, you know, I'm not raising her to be single. I mean, yeah, I want to raise her to be independent to a certain degree, but not necessarily, you know, raising her to be a single woman.
Mm-hmm. And so I thought about it. I said, so what does that question mean to me? Because I just heard it posed somewhere. And of course, I wasn't a part of the conversation, but it just really stuck with me around, okay, so if someone is saying that, what could that possibly look like and what could it possibly mean? Right. Because if we're raised to be independent, mm-hmm. you know, so what does that mean when we come together in a marriage with a man? Right. And how do we relinquish some of that independence when we are with a man? Because is it subconsciously that we're thinking, okay, I got to have my own stuff. Right. You know, I got to be independent because, you know, something might happen. So we're going into the relationship perhaps thinking that way. That's right. And so most of the women that we've talked to when I posed that question, they're like, that's interesting. Yeah. You know, and never really think about that. And like you said, I like the way you explained that. Yeah, we're taught to be independent because we do have to learn to take care of ourselves, right? Especially because when we leave our homes, our mm-hmm. parents' home, we are learning to be independent because we got to learn how to take care of ourselves. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we cannot be in relationship with a man and mm-hmm. learning to, you know, give and take, because in a relationship is give and take. And so, no, I don't believe that black women are raised to be single, mm-hmm. because I think that's a more in-depth, I think there's a lot to that. Mm-hmm. That's a loaded question it is. You know, around, you know, how you're raised, you know, the relationships that we choose to be in, mm-hmm. you know, all of that.
Right. And then, all of it. And then if you look at history and, mm-hmm. most often white people, you know, they raise their children. Some of the marriages are prearranged, you know, and even in some African American families, you know, this is the type of man that you look for. This is the type of man that you're gonna marry. It used to be like I gave an example when we were talking about it last night. Growing up in a military town, you would hear so often about well, you need to get one of them soldiers, or you need to get one of those professional athletes, or you need to get that. You know what I'm saying? So some marriages are arranged, and that mindset is engraved in some people. And so some people are raised with the notion of, I'm going to get married, and this is what the type of man that I need to marry, and things of that nature. So that's a real interesting
But
question.
then once you get in the marriage, so that's different to me than being raised to be independent. So well, and it's around the time that you were raised. I'm born in the 60s.
Me too.
Raised in the 60s and the 70s. And what was important then was, and it probably still is important, don't bring any babies home.
Yep.
You need to get your education. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And get a good job.
Yep. And then when we go out and we're in a relationship, like for instance, I was in a relationship, and this person wanted me to drop out of college, right? And my thing was, no, I got to go to school. No, I have to do this and do that.
Right.
And so I've never thought about it as the question was posed around, are we raised to be single? So I don't know if I like that question. Right. I don't know if I like that question because
it's something to give some thought to.
Yeah, and it's because it makes it seem like this is a problem for black women.
Right.
No, women in general, Yeah. And so, it's almost as if they're putting a label on black women, and I will not be privy to that. Right. Because, all circumstances are different.
That's right.
Right? And the reason for the question, part of the question was there are so many single black women.
I'm
and
sure
so,
by choice.
Maybe. I don't know. I've had some conversations with some women, and I want to have them on the show, and they know who they are. I don't know if it's by choice. In terms of they've been single so long, and they do have their lives in order. And when they meet a man, they expect the man to come to the table in order. And so
that poses
and they've just decided, that for whatever reason that they're just rather be single because they're not going to deal with some of the stuff that they're being asked to deal with. And so
that's interesting.
And somebody said, such a fine line, make sure you never need a man. You better be married before you have children. That's really interesting. And so, people are posing this question. And of course, for me, I'm always looking underneath. Right. What is the purpose of this question?
Right.
Because, we can say a whole lot of stuff about a whole lot of people.
Right.
Yes, we have a lot of women that are single, but I think that's in every culture.
That's in every culture, exactly.
I do. I think it's in every culture. And so the question was, the answer to the question, was fascinating, depending on who was answering it, their experience in life, right? And so, no, for me, I don't believe that we're raised to be single. No. I believe that we're raised to be independent.
And that's a
difference. And as we are raised to be independent, when we get into relationship, we have got to learn to give and take. But it's all about what you're willing to sacrifice, what you're willing to give and take. And everybody's relationship is different.
That's right.
Everybody's relationship is different. And so I just thought it was interesting. Yes, very interesting. So, as you all know,
time is up.
Time is flying. Up. We have 2 more minutes, and we have a lot of social media buzz, and I couldn't get the phone working for some reason today, but that's okay. Next time. We just thank you for tuning in. Remember, the 4th annual Woman Thou Art Great Women Sharpening Women Conference is on March the 23rd. 2019. Go to Eventbrite and get your tickets. We have 34 days. 34 days. Yes, and that's just how quickly time goes by. And the lineup is phenomenal. And so we thank you all for tuning in. We're hoping that you have a blessed day and that you enjoy the rest of your day. See you next Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.